The person with federal responsibility for reviving small business optimism is with us right now. Karen Gordon-Mills heads the U.S. Small Business Administration. She was in North Carolina yesterday talking with President Obama's Jobs Council about how to get small businesses hiring. She's with us today from Boston. Good morning to you. Let me ask you this question. Karen, what could small businesses, what are they telling you? You were in North Carolina yesterday. What are they telling you about the reluctance to hire, the reluctance to invest, even though, as Mike just pointed out, financing is available? So the one thing that they've cited through the recovery, the access to capital, isn't a problem anymore, and they're not doing anything. Why?
Well, as you said, we were in North Carolina yesterday with the President and the Jobs Council, which is the group of executives that's run by Jeff Immelt of GE, and we have some terrific public-private partnerships going on there. And we were talking about just this question, which is how do you make sure that America's small businesses have the tools that they need so that they can create the jobs? You know, half of the working people in America own or work for a small business. And they create 64% of the jobs. So this is the critical job engine. There's really two kinds of small business that we were talking about. There's Main Street small business, and that's some of what you were citing. I travel all around the country, and what I'm seeing on Main Street is that small businesses are in a much better place than they were 2 years ago, when they had just really been so hard hit by the recession. But they're cautious. And they want to make sure that the sales are there before they hire that next person. We are seeing a lot of good growth in the group we had in the Research Triangle yesterday. We had a lot of manufacturers, both high-tech and low-tech. We had medical device makers and biotech and chemical companies, and they are hiring. They have the innovation. They have the financing, as you just said, now available. They're buying the next piece of equipment. They're proceeding along. And we had quite a good discussion about making sure that we keep the wind at their back, removing barriers for them, giving them certainty for the future.
Karen, you said earlier that small business in America is in a better place, and you pointed out that some of the firms that you've been speaking with in North Carolina, Research Triangle Park, are in fact doing hiring. But the government has done an awful lot for small business, helped to improve access to capital, expanded tax breaks, and a whole lot more. Why is it, if that's the case, that optimism, as we've seen today, is declining down to an 8-month low?
Well, as you said, the good news for small business is that they now see the capital markets, particularly the bank markets, easing up. And they feel that if they've got the opportunity, they can expand. So then the question is demand. And small businesses are moving forward, but they're moving forward carefully. They have a lot of opportunity. They just want to make sure that the market demand is there. And as you said, they worried about gas prices quite a bit, and they worry about commodity inflation. That said, I will tell you that when we were together yesterday, the real job creators, which are these innovative companies, are stepping forward. And you talked earlier about the animal spirits. What I see when I'm out there is the entrepreneurial spirit. And when you look around American small business, we have not lost our entrepreneurial spirit. So as these innovations come up, there are entrepreneurs who are ready to take them forward. And we need to make sure that those innovations keep getting the incentives to turn into jobs. You know, you mentioned tax incentives, and there's no question there were 17 tax incentives for small business, including accelerated depreciation. And we see that being taken up all the time so that people are hiring that next worker. Interestingly, the one thing that came up yesterday is people are having trouble finding trained workers. So we have launched something with the community colleges. The president was in Virginia last week, describing with the National Association of Manufacturers how we're going to train more workers to be certified in manufacturing, because we actually have not lost our manufacturing base here. We need to make sure that young people see manufacturing as a career, get that training, and then come into some of these small companies that I was with yesterday in North Carolina.
You've hit on some pretty big things, this idea of you can't lead a horse to water, right? Some businesses are afraid to spend right now, but you've also said you see some bright spots as far as the entrepreneurs go. What could the administration be doing better right now?
Well, to focus on these entrepreneurs, we announced something called Startup America. And this reflects the fact that all the net new job creation really comes from a much smaller number of high-growth businesses. Main Street businesses, we're there for them. They open, they close, and the SBA has put out $42 billion in financing, largely for Main Street businesses. But our high-growth businesses right now are tremendous assets. And we have a whole series of activities around supporting them. You know, the kind of mentoring and counseling that they need is different than a Main Street small business. So we have looked and focused on these entrepreneurs, and we are doing everything from helping youth entrepreneurs to helping our more high-tech innovators and our high-tech manufacturers, as we saw yesterday.
Karen, wonderful to have you here in the Inside Track. Karen Mills, she is the administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administration.